New details tonight in the death of infamous D.C. cocaine kingpin Rayful Edmond. He died at the age of 60 months after he was released from prison.
Edmond's operation profited hundreds of millions of dollars at the height of the crack epidemic back in the 1980s.
I'm back better than ever.
This is the most recent and only video of Rayful Edmond we've seen since his release from a federal prison last summer. Captured on camera at an airport just after his release and shared on social media. Then U.S. Attorney Jay Stevens.
I think Rayful Edmond has been held accountable for the human destruction and tragedy that he has brought to this city and to the lives of thousands of young people who live in this community.
The streets never sleep, and this time Rayful Edmond, the infamous kingpin who practically defined the crack era in D.C., suddenly died just a few months before he was set to be released from prison. Speculations are running wild, and let's just say the family is not staying silent. They're coming forward with shocking claims about who might have been behind his sudden demise. It's looking like the snitches might have played a major role. Now, in case you didn't know, Rayful Edmond wasn't just any name in the game, he was the name. In the 80s, this man turned Washington, D.C. into what was called the red rum capital of the U.S. due to the crack epidemic. By age 24, Rayful was running a massive empire with over 150 people under him, pulling in a mind-blowing $300 million a year. His crew wasn't just selling, they were reportedly tied to at least 30 red rums.
When the crack epidemic hit, the D.C. Police Department wasn't ready for it.
When crack was the hustle here in the nation's capital back in the 1980s, nobody, absolutely nobody worked harder than Rayful Edmond III.
But like they say, every kingpin has his downfall. In 1990, Rayful was hit with a life sentence for running his empire. And if that wasn't enough, he managed to keep the hustle alive from prison, getting another 30 years for dealing nose candy while locked up. Fast forward to 2023, and things took a surprising turn. After serving more than 3 decades, Rayful's life sentence was reduced, and he was moved to a halfway house in Nashville. His lawyer and even community leaders spoke out, saying he deserved another chance. "He's happy as you can imagine," said Tyrone Parker, a DC activist who knew Rayful. "It's a miracle that he's home." Rayful was ready to turn his life around, or at least that's what he wanted the world to believe. But then, out of nowhere, news broke that Rayful had died. The Federal Bureau of Prisons confirmed Rayful's death, but kept the details under wraps. No cause of death was released, which, let's be honest, only fueled more rumors. People immediately started speculating. Was this just natural causes, or was there something way more sinister at play? Because let's be real, these kind of things are very common. Well, according to Rayful's family, it's the latter. They're saying there's no way this was random and are pointing fingers at the people who might have wanted him gone.
My first thought was, man, I hope he wasn't assassinated. But as it turns out, he apparently died a natural death. And anybody who's been in prison long enough eating prison food, it doesn't take much to imagine how that can happen.
Several people believe that this death wasn't just some coincidence. It was retaliation. If you know Rayful's history, then you know he flipped on some of his closest allies back in the day. When Rayful turned informant and started ratting people out, it shook the streets. He allegedly provided the feds with information on major players in the game, and snitching at that level doesn't just get forgotten no matter how many years go by. There has been wild speculation that some of the people he snitched on might have had connections even after all these years. Was Rayful's release from prison the perfect opportunity for someone to settle the score? After all, this wasn't just some street-level drama. Rayful's empire reached all the way to the top, and his enemies weren't small-time players. Rayful's family isn't buying the official silence around his death. They've been vocal, saying the timing is way too suspicious. His halfway house placement was supposed to be a fresh start, but instead, it turned into a graveyard.
Well, you actually interacted with him?
Yeah, Ray used to come to L.A.
Oh, so he a cop from you?
From Melvin Butler.
One theory suggests that Rayful was taken out by someone who didn't want him talking. Remember, he was reportedly cooperating with law enforcement to get his sentence reduced. Could he have been planning to expose even more secrets? Another theory ties his death to rivals who never forgave him for snitching. Rayful might have been out of the game for decades, but in the streets, some grudges last forever. Rayful's death also raises questions about the current state of DC's streets. Despite being out of the game, his name still carried weight, and his release might have stirred up old tensions. Some believe that his death could reignite rivalries or spark even more aggression in a city that's already struggling with crime. Before his death, Rayful was reportedly trying to turn over a new leaf. Community leaders who supported his release believed he could help steer at-risk youth away from a life of crime. "Let's give the man a chance," said his lawyer Jason Downs. He feels that he has served and paid his debt to society. But did the streets give him a chance, or was his past too heavy to escape?
I don't think I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison. I think I'm going to go home one day soon.
You think your appeal will be successful?
Yes, I hope and pray that it will.
No matter how you spin it, Rayful Edmond's story is one of the most controversial in American history. From his rise as a kingpin to his fall as a federal informant, he's been both villain and victim, depending on who you ask. But now, with his suspicious death, it's clear that his legacy isn't going anywhere. The question is, will we ever know the full truth about what happened to him? The streets are talking, and the reactions to Rayful's death are straight up wild. One commenter dropped this theory: "Government told FBI he is no longer any use for us to continue being our federal informant and got rid of him." Another hit hard with "snitched on all those people about substances and 20 red rums to get out for 90 days and die." It's clear that people aren't buying the official silence around his death, and the rumors are only making things confusing. The question remains, how much of this is conspiracy and how much is the ugly truth? So what do y'all think? Was Rayful's death just a tragic end to a controversial life, or was there something way darker at play? Leave your thoughts down below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more developing stories straight from the streets. Stick around for the next video. It's one you won't want to miss.